What's up everyone, welcome to Danger Time. In the world of the MonsterVerse, Godzilla, the king of the monsters, has plenty of foes. But within the lore of this monster universe, only one titan evolved solely with the purpose of hunting down Godzilla and his kind. The Mutos, or more technically named in the lore, the Jinshinmushi. This species has for millennia hunted down and killed many of the atomic reptiles who rule planet Earth. After the events of the films and comics, one could have assumed that this brand of titan was gone for good in the MonsterVerse. However, a recent reveal from the man who wrote the Birth of Kong comic series, as well as Godzilla Aftershock, the comic starring the Muto Prime, gives us insight into the Queen Muto from Godzilla King of the Monsters, and how Godzilla may soon be in trouble for letting this beast survive. This might just be the biggest mistake MonsterVerse Godzilla has ever made, and we're gonna go in depth on this, so stick around. Make sure and give this video a Kong-sized like if you want to see more of the Muto in the MonsterVerse, and let's get to it. After Godzilla defeated Ghidorah, we got to see the other awakened titans of the planet bow down before him. Out of all of these monsters, the one that was the most interesting, and in a way, confusing for this action, was the Queen Muto, that later earned the nickname Barbara in the community due to the barbs around her body. Her bowing to the G-Man left many MonsterVerse lore fans questioning, why? Why would an individual from the species who evolved solely to hunt the Gojira down bow to him? Better yet, why would Godzilla let the creature live in the first place if its entire purpose in the lore was to kill him? Well, we may not get the answer to both of those questions anytime soon. But writer Arvid Nelson, the man who wrote the only story featuring a Muto Prime, confirms some juicy lore about the Queen. This all comes from KDM once again, by the way. What a Chadzilla. When Nelson was asked on Twitter about the relationship of the different forms of the Mutos we have seen so far, specifically the Queen and Prime versions of the species, he had this to say. The Queen is the nymph form of a Prime. She will metamorphose into a Prime unless a certain green atomic lizard god kills her first. And I want to quickly express that he is referring to the insect definition of the word, not the sexy naked fairy girls hanging out in the woods. So the Queen at the time of her appearance in Godzilla King of the Monsters had already begun the process of changing into a Muto Prime. The metamorphosis likely started to occur right after Godzilla had killed the Muto Prime in Godzilla Aftershock. As in the lore, it's stated that once a Muto Prime perishes, that the next most powerful female in the species will naturally morph into the Prime. This was an adaptation that arose as a failsafe for the species to always ensure that there was another Muto Prime available to keep the species alive. Even if there were no mating pair of Mutos like the ones we've seen in Godzilla 2014, the Muto Prime was capable of producing offspring all on its own in the form of the parasitic eggs that it loves to lay into highly radioactive titans like Godzilla, thus enabling the species another shot at survival. So the Queen Muto is in the process of transforming into one of the very few titans that can actually kill Godzilla, and he simply let her live. So the guy who wrote the story about the Muto Prime officially is confirming that the Queen Muto was in the process of transforming into one of the very few titans that could actually kill Godzilla, and he simply let her live. Even with the Queen bowing to Godzilla, showing her respect to him, who's to say that after years of continuing the process, transforming into the Muto Prime, that Barbara over here won't come knocking for the G-Man's head when she's powerful enough to actually challenge him. Now we know that Godzilla would be ready for this battle if it indeed does happen. He already killed one Muto Prime, and he can certainly do it again now that he gained the knowledge on how to defeat such an opponent. Which brings us to Godzilla and Kong, the New Empire. What if the Queen Muto continues her evolution? And what if she joins the dark forces that will challenge Godzilla and Kong in this new story? 1v1, Godzilla can take a Muto Prime. But if the big G-Man has skull crawlers, warbats, and a psychotic monkey swarming him all at once, the addition of another Muto Prime at this time could be disastrous for the big guy, and would truly test his allegiance with humanity and Kong in order to come out of this war victorious. But what do you guys think? Nelson also gave us a very fun bit of lore on the Muto mating couples, confirming that once the male and female breed and their eggs hatch, that the female would attack, kill, and consume the male Muto. A lot like what happens with praying mantises in our real world. So in a way, Godzilla did this guy a favor when he killed him so swiftly. Otherwise, his hateful wife here would have started eating on his head while he was still alive. Letting the Queen Muto survive may have been the worst decision Godzilla could have made. But luckily for him, it's likely we won't see the Queen again, as director Michael Dougherty stated that he only put the Queen in the movie because he liked the Mutos from 2014 and wanted to get them in his film in some form. I don't think he really thought about the lore all that much regarding that decision. And the MonsterVerse, at least up until this point, has had plenty of continuity issues. It's all over the place. From what I have seen, it seems like Legendary hires creators to work on these comics and side stories like the new Skull Island TV show, for example, and just tells them to make up their own lore that fits the story at least a little bit. So with respect to Mr. Nelson, his knowledge on the Mutos may or may not be considered canon by Legendary. But since he wrote the only story on the Muto Prime, it's as close as we're gonna get as of right now. And maybe in the future of the MonsterVerse, we may see Godzilla's decision to let the Queen live come back to bite him literally in the ass. Alright residents, so I hope you enjoyed that MonsterVerse lore video. It's pretty uncommon that we actually get one of the creators of the MonsterVerse giving us fans some juicy information to go off of, so this was pretty cool. Make sure to go give Arvid Nelson a follow on one of his platforms if you haven't already, and let him know Dangerville sent you. So if you want more MonsterVerse videos like this, share the video around, get it all fired up in the algorithm, and subscribe to Dangerville if you haven't already. This has been Jacob, and I will see you guys in the next video.